Yehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, this is how you bless the children of Israel. Say to them, Yehovah bless you and keep you. Yehovah makes his face shine upon you, make his face shine upon you, and show favor or grace to you. Yehovah lift up his face upon you and give you peace." And all of those are elements of his name, how Yehovah is and what Yehovah does. "Thus they shall put my name on the children of Israel, and I myself shall bless them." So this is how the priests are to put Yehovah's name on Israel. Revelation 13:16-17 says, "And he causes all, both small and great, and rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a mark upon their right hand or upon their foreheads, that no one should be able to buy or sell except he that has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." Okay, so in order to buy or sell, you're going to need one of three things. You're either going to need the number of his name, or his mark. Revelation 13 is 18 verses long. So verse 17 speaks of no one's able to buy or sell except he that has the mark or the name of the beast, the number of his name. And we have verse 18, which is, "Here is wisdom." This is the he who calculates the number of his name. The very next verse is Revelation 14, verse 1. "And I looked and saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written upon their foreheads." Okay, so you see the contrast which is being drawn here between these two things. Those who have the mark of the beast on their hand, on their forehead, or his name, or the number of his name, and those who have the name of the Father written upon their foreheads. And 144,000 are obviously those who are protected during this time. This is the word which is translated as beast. You might have seen I put it in blue as therion. Okay, therion is just the word that is used to say beast. If I wanted to talk of a wild animal, I would talk of a therion, like the beasts on the earth, or the therions on the earth. But when we see these therions, we see that they are actually referred to in prophecy. When we see a therion or a wild animal or a beast in prophecy, it has a different meaning and it tells us something different. So this is the Septuagint. Okay, so obviously the New Testament's written in Greek. We would be looking for this term, since it is a general term. It's not a specific term. It's not a technical term. It's just a term for wild animal or wild beast. Daniel 7:3-7 says, "And there came up 4 great beasts, 4 great therions out of the sea, differing from one another." If you read Revelation 13, you'll know that the first beast comes up out of the sea also. So these are 4 great therions, 4 great beasts that come up out of the sea. The word in Hebrew just means beast, just as the Greek word just means beast. So going to the Septuagint just shows the linkage with Revelation. It's the same word. It's just a word that means a beast or a wild animal. The first of these 4 great beasts that came out of the sea was as a lioness, and her wings as an eagle's wings. I beheld until her wings were plucked, and she was lifted off from the earth, and she stood on human feet, and a man's heart was given to her. And behold, a second therion, like a bear, and it supported itself on one side, and there were 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And thus they said to it, "Arise, devour much flesh." After this one I looked, and behold, another therion, as a leopard. And it had 4 wings of a bird upon it, and the therion had 4 heads, and power was given to it. After this one I looked, and behold, a 4th therion, dreadful, terrible, exceedingly strong, and its teeth were of iron, devouring and crushing to atoms, and it trampled the remainder with its feet. And it was altogether different from the Therion that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So the imagery which is used in prophecy is of these things which come up, and they're described as beasts, and they're animals essentially. And it's idiomatic language, or it's metaphorical imagery that we have given here. And these beasts represent certain things, and Daniel gives us more information about what each of these things are. Okay, these beasts are kingdoms. The first beast, the lioness with the wings, that is the kingdom of Babylon. Then we have the kingdom which comes after it, which is the kingdom of the Medes and the Persians. Then we have the kingdom of Greece, and then we have Rome. They are the 4 beasts that you see in Daniel 7. These things are explained throughout the rest of Daniel, and the rest of the images of various beasts that he sees. We have this narrative told to us of these 4 kingdoms on the earth, from Babel, which is the kingdom which was on the earth at the time when Daniel was around, and King Nebuchadnezzar. So a beast is a kingdom, it represents a kingdom. But what we're going to see as we go through is it also represents the thing, the spiritual power behind that kingdom. The beasts are going to have horns. You'll see that it's got 10 horns on it here. I'm going to tell you these things plainly now, and then I'm going to show you these things in Scripture. So the beasts of the kingdoms, the horns on the beasts, they are human rulers. They are human people. The beast itself is the spiritual entity that is behind the kingdom. And as a whole, the beast and its horns is the kingdom. We see in Daniel 10, 12 to 13, it says, "And he said to me, do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before Elohim, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words. But the prince of Persia withstood me 21 days, and see, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I have been left alone there with the kings of Persia." So here we get an insight into the spirit realm. This is the angel Gabriel. He comes to Daniel and he says, Michael, one of the chief princes, uses the word princes, help me to fight against the prince of the kingdom of Persia. Okay, so this is a spiritual entity which is doing battle with Michael and Gabriel. For I had been left alone there with the kings of Persia. Kings, again, are spiritual entities. You get human kings and you get spiritual kings. The ones that Gabriel is fighting against here are spiritual kings. So we should expect, and we see elsewhere in the book of Daniel, that we will have spiritual princes and spiritual kings. Okay? Daniel 10:20 to 21 says, "And he said, do you know why I have come to you? And now I return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I have left, see, the prince of Greece shall come." Remember those 4 kingdoms which come up on the earth. Told by Daniel, it's the Babylonians, then the Medes and the Persians. Then we have the Greeks. And then we have the kingdom of Rome is the final kingdom. Okay, and he's talking here, "I return to fight with the prince of Persia, and see, the prince of Greece shall come." Spiritual entities. "But let me declare to you what is written in the scripture of truth, and there is no one supporting me against these except Michael, your prince." So again, spiritual entity. Michael, the chief archangel, he is a prince, just like the prince of Persia and the prince of Greece, or the prince of Grecia. In Deuteronomy 32 verse 8, in the Septuagint, it's actually different in the Masoretic text. Instead of according to the numbers of the angels of God. It says according to the number of the children of Israel, which just doesn't make any sense. But the original text that the Septuagint was translated from said something different. It says, when the Most High divided the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the nations according to the number of the angels of God. And we have these spiritual entities over particular regions. We've got the Prince of Persia involved with the kingdom of Persia, and that is the dominion of the Prince of Persia. We've got the Prince of Greece mentioned as well. We've also got kings mentioned, the kings of the Medes and the Persians, the king of Greece. All of these are mentioned in the context of spiritual entities. And we see that Yahovah divided the nations according to the number of the angels. Ephesians 6 verse 12 says, because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against authorities, against the world rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies. So our fight is not with flesh and blood human beings. Our fight is with what is behind them. It is on a spiritual level. When you're talking about a kingdom, it doesn't matter who's in charge of it. That would be a horn on the beast, the human that's in charge. But it's the beast, the spiritual entity. These are the things that we see fighting against each other. In fact, when Greece defeats the Medes and the Persians, we see Daniel describe that as the beast, the he-goat, charging into the ram, which is the kings of the Medes and Persians. So these beasts are what are in conflict with each other. They have horns, but the horns are borne about on the beast. It's what's behind the kingdom spiritually, which is important. In Daniel 8:4-5, it says, and I saw the ram butting westward and northward and southward, and no beast could stand before him. Same word used there, it's just a beast, a wild animal. These are the spiritual entities. So no beast could stand before this ram. No beast was able to stand before him. There was none that could deliver out of his hand, and he did according to his will and became great. And I was considering, and behold, a he-goat came from the southwest on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the earth, and the goat had a horn between his eyes. So remember what I was explaining, that the horns are the physical rulers. The beasts are the spiritual entities. The beasts are the kingdoms and the spiritual entities, and on their heads they have these horns. Okay, so we're going to see in Daniel 8 how these horns are described. Daniel 8:20-21. The ram which you saw, which is described as a therion, as a beast, having two horns, are the kings of the Medes and Persians. So the beast, it says here, this beast are the kings of the Medes and Persians. In Hebrew, you have when you have something which is, there's a multiple of it, it's in the plural, the words around it are going to be pluralized too. So instead of saying, the ram which you saw is the king of Media and the king of Persia, it says the ram are the kings of Media and Persia, because Media and Persia, the kings, that's a plural thing, so the word are is used instead of the word is. Okay, it's something that's there in the Hebrew, which points us to a great discovery here. So the ram are the kings of Media and Persia. So these are the spiritual entities. The ram, the beast, spiritual entity, and what it is the spiritual entities, the kings of Media and Persia. This beast as a whole is the spiritual entities. We saw before the prince of Persia. Here we see the kings of Persia, the kings of Media, the kingdom of the Medes and the Persians. Then it tells us about this he-goat, which Daniel sees charging towards it. It says the male goat is the king of Greece. We saw before the prince of Greece. This beast is the king of Greece, and the large horn between his eyes is the first king. Okay, so we've got two kings that are mentioned there. We've got the king of Grecia, like the prince of Grecia, which is a spiritual entity that Michael and Gabriel are involved in fighting against. And on the head of this beast which was seen, which is the king of Greece, is the first king. So that's two kings. You've got the spiritual kings and you've got the human kings. Daniel 7 verse 24 says the 10 horns are 10 kings from this kingdom. This is the fourth terrible beast, which Daniel sees coming up. So we've got 10 kings. These are 10 human rulers that are going to rule this kingdom. But they're all born about on the beast, which is the spiritual entity behind the kingdom. Jeremiah 48:25 says, the horn of Moab has been cut off and his arm has been broken. Speaking of the physical ruler, the human ruler of Moab. Now, Daniel goes into a great deal of history that has happened and actually come to be on the earth. Like the idea that the he-goat will come from the southwest and he'll butt into the ram, which is the kings of Media and Persia. That actually happened in history. Greece came from the southwest and engaged with the Medes and the Persians. There's a whole lot more that's in the book of Daniel. I'm not going to go through that because my purpose in this teaching is to show what the mark of the beast is. I want us to understand what the beast is without going into all detail about all beasts in all scripture and how all prophecy was fulfilled. If people are interested in that sort of depth of teaching, I would recommend this teaching, Daniel and Revelation Decoded, because I go through all these horns that come up, the little horn, how it comes up among three other horns and how it displaces them, and how there's 10 horns and this happens to this one, this happens to that one, and then the horns on the king of Grecia, all of those things. How 4 horns came up on the king of Grecia, just like we see happening in history. So if you want to know the history and how all of that maps out with beasts and horns, and you're interested in that aspect of what I'm saying, I recommend this teaching. It goes into a lot of depth on that. We also see beasts in the throne room in heaven. Revelation 4:6-7 says, and before the throne was a sea of glass like crystals, and in the midst of the throne and around the throne were 4 living creatures, it says in this translation. In the King James Version, it just says beasts, because this word zoon, along with the word therion, both refer to beasts. They've both got slightly different emphasis about what they're saying about the beasts, but they both mean beast. But I'll show you that. Covered with eyes in the front and in the back. And the first living creature was like a lion, the second living creature like a calf, the third living creature had a face like a man, fourth living creature was like a flying, eagle. So again, much like the beasts of the earth, okay, those spiritual entities on the earth are all seen in these sorts of guises. Daniel saw the 4 beasts. He said the first one was like a lioness with wings, for example. This is the Thayer's Greek lexicon entry for the word zoon. You see the word zoon here. Again, an animal, brute, beast, same thing as therion means. It says here a living being, because that's actually more accurate, as Thayer's goes on to discuss. It says here zoon differs from therion. It says that they're synonyms. It says zoon differs from therion, at least etymologically. That means where that word came from linguistically. So the word zoon, it says here, in giving prominence to the vital element, vitality, life. So what is being emphasized about the beasts that are in heaven is their vitality or their life, while therion emphasizes the bestial element. So when we think of the beasts on the earth, and we use a word that means beast, what's emphasized by that word is their bestial element. And that's quite fitting because they're the evil powers on the earth, the world rulers of darkness, so to speak. What's emphasized about the beasts in heaven when we call them beasts is their vitality and their life, which again is fitting for the beasts in heaven, but they're the same. Okay, we see them, they look the same, but they are referred to, one emphasizing vitality, one emphasizing their bestial nature, but both of the words are synonymous and they mean beast. That's why the King James translates them both as beast. Revelation 13, 11 to 18 then says, "And I saw another beast, another Therian, coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke like a dragon." So the 2 horns are humans on the earth, human rulers, human leaders, and this beast is this spiritual entity. This beast has 2 horns like a lamb. Okay, so they appear like a lamb, obviously associated with Yeshua, but spoke like a dragon. And what we're going to go on to learn in Revelation is that this second beast is the false prophet. Looks like a lamb, speaks like a dragon. Its 2 horns, the 2 things that you're going to actually see on the earth, look like a lamb, but speak like a dragon. And this is the false prophet. He exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. That's something that's been mentioned previously. So he causes everyone on the earth, those who dwell in it, to worship the first beast. So when we are looking for the false prophet, we should be looking that they are causing those people on the earth to worship something. And what's going to be behind that thing is this first beast. I go into more detail about this in the teaching that I put up, but this understanding is sufficient for now. He does great signs so that he makes fire come down from the heaven on the earth before men. Okay, so that's going to be something that we're going to recognize when we see it. When this beast, who brings about this mark of the beast, comes about, he's going to do great signs, even making fire come down from heaven. It's not going to be something that we're going to easily miss here. It says he leads astray those dwelling on the earth because of those signs. So when we're looking for a false prophet, we're going to be looking for 2 human counterparts of the false prophet, and they're going to be leading people astray because of the signs, not for any other reason. They lead them astray because of the signs, including the fire coming down from heaven. So when we who are equipped with the word of Elohim see these things happening on the earth, if indeed it is us in the last generation, then we will recognize what this is and what we can expect from it, which he was given to do before the beast, the first beast, saying to those dwelling on the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword yet lived. So what we're going to see is people on the earth going to be led astray because of these signs, fire coming down from the earth. They're going to be told to make an image to the beast. This word image is an icon. An icon is like a statue. It's when we talk of people worshipping images that are statues. That's the word that is used there. It's an icon. It's like a giant statue, a giant carved image. That's what the image of the beast is, the icon. So he tells the people on the earth, go and make an icon. So he's deceiving them by the signs, and then he tells them to make an icon. This is what we are waiting for. Who was wounded by the sword yet lived. And there was given to him to give a spirit to the icon of the beast, that the icon of the beast should both speak and cause to be killed as many as would not worship the image of the beast. So this is something very particular that we're looking for here. deceive the people. When the people are deceived, tell them to build an icon. When they build the icon, give a spirit to the icon so that it should speak and show that it should cause to be killed as many as would not worship it. That's very specific. We don't have anything, and people will take many things in the world and they'll try to shoehorn them into the prophecies, and they'll say, well, look, this fulfills this part of it, or it fulfills that part of it. But what we're looking for is something that fulfills all of this. So we want an icon which is caused to speak by being given a spirit and causes as many as would not worship it to be killed. Okay, so worship the icon, otherwise you'll be killed. And it will speak because it's been given a spirit. And it's been made by the people of the earth when they've been told to make it, when they've been led astray with great signs, including fire coming down from heaven. And he causes all, both small and great, and rich and poor, and free and slave, to be given a mark on their right hand or upon their foreheads. It's part of the sequence of events. Okay? So these people are all led astray through these signs. There's this icon of the beast which is speaking and causing people who won't worship it to be killed. Then he causes these people to be given a mark on their right hands. Right hands on their foreheads. All people, everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, everyone is given this mark. That no one should be able to buy or sell except he that has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of the name. 3 things which you can have to buy or sell. It's not just the mark of the beast that you've got to have. So when we're looking for things that could be the mark of the beast, we've got to look for things that fit into what is said here. Everyone has it. Everyone on the earth, that they've been deceived by these great signs and wonders, and that they can either have the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name, not just this mark. Here is the wisdom. He who has understanding, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Okay, I know there's people who believe that the symbol is the symbol that people in Islam have and all of that sort of stuff. That's fine. Maybe that's true. I'm not going to go into teaching about whether or not that is a valid interpretation, but it doesn't matter, because you can either have that, or you can have the name of the beast, or you can have the mark of the beast to buy or sell. Revelation 19 to 20 reveals who this second beast is. We're all familiar with the false prophet. So this second beast, we're told, deceives the people on the earth. You can see in verse 13 and 14, he leads astray those dwelling on the earth because of those signs, which he's been given to do before the beast, saying to those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast. Okay? The next time we hear this description, it says, I saw the beast, that's the first beast, and the kings of the earth, so we should have more understanding about what this is, and their armies gathered together to him, to fight, rather, him who sat on the horse and his army. And the beast was seized, and with him was the false prophet who works signs in his presence. That's what we're told the second beast does, by which he led astray those who received the mark of the beast and those who worshipped his image. That's the second beast, which is why when he's referred to here, it says you've got the beast and the false prophet. That's the first beast and the second beast. We know who the false prophet is. He's the one who led astray the people by the signs that he did in the presence of the first beast, those who received the mark of the beast, those who worshipped his image. So he's going to lead them astray by signs. He's going to cause them to build an image. The image is going to be given a spirit so that it should speak and cause as many as will not worship it to be killed. And the false prophet is going to cause them to receive a mark also. They're all the things that we're looking for in this scenario. These are the things which must be present. Daniel 3, 1 to 6 shows us a picture in Scripture, a prophetic picture of what we can expect in the end times. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an icon of gold. Okay, this is from the ISR version, but I'm highlighting that in the Septuagint version, it uses the word icon, because that's what an icon is. It's like a huge graven image, whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babel. And King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together the viceroys, the nobles, the governors, the councillors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the icon which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the viceroys, the nobles, and the governors, the councillors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered together for the dedication of the icon that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the icon that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald loudly proclaimed, "To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, languages, all the people of the earth, that as soon as you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments, you shall fall down and do obeisance to the gold icon the King Nebuchadnezzar has set up." So just as we see the plagues in Exodus amplified in Revelation, we see this amplified in Revelation as well. It's not a herald proclaiming that anybody who will not worship the image will be killed. It's actually the image itself. The image is given spirit so that it should both speak and cause to be killed as many as would not worship it. So anybody who will not fall down and do obeisance to the image shall be killed. Whoever does not fall down and do obeisance is immediately thrown into the midst of a burning furnace of fire. They'll be killed. So this herald proclaims what the image will proclaim in the end times. So this is what we are looking for when we're talking about the false prophet and his mark. The false prophet, who is the second beast, and his mark. He has 2 horns like a lamb and speaks like a dragon. Okay, so he's a false prophet. This is the definition of a false prophet, if you wanted to sum that up. He exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, does great signs. He even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth before men, leads astray those dwelling on the earth because of those signs. It's nothing else. It's because of those signs. That's how everyone is led astray and caused to worship the first beast. Says to those dwelling on the earth to make an image, an icon to the first beast. Gives a spirit to the icon of the beast, that the icon of the beast should both speak and cause to be killed as many as would not worship the icon of the beast. These are so specific. This is not going to take us by surprise. Causes all to be given a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, that no one should be able to buy or sell except he that has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Which brings me to one of the most popular things that people have thought in the past may be the mark of the beast. The reason that they've thought that this may be the mark of the beast is because of what we have here. These two lines in the middle, and these 2 lines in the middle, when they are computed by a computer, work out to 6s. That's how the computer recognizes those 2 lines as 6s. So they say you need the barcode to buy or sell. Not true. You can buy or sell without a barcode. You also don't get a barcode on your hand or on your forehead. Okay? Now, if you think, as we'll go on to see, what the hand and the forehead may represent, then you could perhaps say that the barcode is on your hand or on your forehead. But this doesn't contain 666. That's false. Okay, the way that the computer reads this is 9687654632109668. And those other lines as well, they're read as numbers in between. So it doesn't have 666 It has 3 sixes in, but would that mean that any number with 3 sixes in could be the mark of the beast, or could be the number of his name? No, it's just something that kind of caught people's eye about this. Those people who knew about it said, well, these 3 lines, equidistant lines in the barcode, are sixes. But we've got to be incredibly precise in what we're saying. Okay, we don't see people on the earth being led astray by great signs and wonders like fire coming down from heaven. You can buy and sell without the barcode. Okay, it's not the barcode or the number of his name. People are saying, well, the number of his name's in the barcode. So that's kind of like both of them are the same thing. Or the name of the beast. Where's the name of the beast? Or none of this is explained. What people tend to do is they look at the world around them and they try to see in the world around them things from the end times, which is fine because we're to be watchful and we are to take in those things that are in the world around us and we're to be watchful. But the scripture is incredibly clear and precise in the description of what those things look like. It's not in Yahovah's nature to have us taken by surprise or to all be using the mark of the beast without knowing it. Okay, yeah, the whole point in taking the mark of the beast is it's an exercise of your will. And we'll come to that and I'll show you that. But it's an exercise of your will that you take it. And it's actually in defiance to Yahovah. It's choosing to take this. Yahovah is not just saying, okay, anybody who uses a barcode, you're using the mark of the beast. People have also speculated that cryptocurrency might be the mark of the beast. And again, it's on the most tentative, slim interpretation of those prophecies that maybe one day you won't be able to buy anything without cryptocurrency. I don't believe that. I think that there are many ways that you could show that that's extremely unlikely to be true. But even if it was true, that doesn't make it a candidate for being the mark of the beast, for it being the false prophet's mark, because there's so much other stuff which has to be in place around it. Okay, so people look at cryptocurrency, they say maybe one day you won't be able to buy or sell without it. That's fine. It says that you will be able to buy or sell if you've got the number of his name or the mark of the beast. So this is something that is a lot more involved. Whatever is put in place on the earth, having these people having been led astray by these signs and wonders, it's not cryptocurrency. Revelation 17 verse 5 shows us the whore. It says that upon the whore's forehead was a name written. Now this idea of having a name written on your head, like those who take the mark of the beast, his name and the number of his name, right hands and foreheads, are contrasted with those who have the name of the Father on their forehead. The idea of having someone's name on your forehead it's kind of like what defines you, whose you are. The name that's written on your forehead is kind of who you're declaring yourself to be, so to speak. I've thought in the past, your hand represents what you do, your forehead represents what you think, but that's not true. Scripture teaches us that thoughts come from the heart, they don't come from the brain. That's kind of a scientific understanding that we have. So that idea that the forehead's what you think isn't actually what Scripture would teach. If it was on your heart, then that would be what you think, the thoughts and intents of the heart, etc. This whore has this name on her forehead. This is who she is. Bavel, the great, the mother of whores and the abominations of the earth. That's a description of her. Okay, that's who she is. The name, again, is not an appellation. It's not a label given to somebody that you have on the head. Let's say the beast was called Clive. You're not going to have Clive written on your head. Like, you're not going to have Yahovah written on your head if you're one of the 144,000. To have his name written on your forehead is who you are rather, and that is what you are about. We see the same with the whore who has this name written on her forehead. Your name is your character, your reputation, your fame. In Revelation 22, verse 4, it says, "They shall see his face and his name upon their foreheads." Okay, so are you going to have the name of the beast, or are you going to have the Father's name on your forehead? This is what's going to make the difference here. Deuteronomy 28, 9-10 says, "Yehovah does establish you as a set-apart people to himself. He has sworn to you, if you guard the commands of Yehovah your Elohim and walk in his ways, all the peoples of the earth shall see that the name of Yehovah is called upon you." You want to have his name on your forehead? For everyone to be able to see that his name is called upon you? Guard his commandments, walk in his ways, have his name on your forehead. Deuteronomy 6, 4-8 says, "Hear, O Yisrael, Yehovah our Elohim, Yehovah is one. You shall love Yehovah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart." Not literally, you're not going to have a load of words poking out your heart, but they'll be in your heart, and we can understand what is meant by that. "You shall impress them on your children and speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up." That's what it is to have his name on your forehead, if you like, as well. Okay, it's who you are. It's what you're about, what you do as you're going about the place. "And you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes." And this word frontlets is something that goes on your forehead. We can see here it is the word tofafa. Okay, tofafa. If we look at the bottom here, a fillet for the forehead. So you've got his sign. Doing his words is a sign on your hand and on your forehead. Just like guarding his commands is how people will see the name of Yehovah called upon you, to have his name on your forehead. This is the word charagma. Charagma is the word mark in Revelation, where it talks of the mark of the beast. Okay, it can be a stamp or an imprinted mark. Something which is carved, a sculpture, a graven work of idolatrous images, which is interesting. Okay, so it can be something engraved, it can be something imprinted, and that's what you're going to have on your hand or on your forehead. This is interesting to me when I consider in Exodus 39, 30-31, and they made the plate of the set-apart sign of dedication of clean gold and wrote on it an inscription like the engraving of a signet. And what's engraved there is set apartness to Yehovah. And they put on it a blue cord and they fasten it above on the turban. That's the gold plate which goes on the high priest's forehead. So here we have an engraving, like that word charagma. This would be a charagma on the forehead of the high priest. So it could be a literal mark or something which is engraved that people have on their foreheads. Much more likely, what we read in Scripture is it's what you're about and what you do. Okay, that's overwhelmingly what we see when we see something on someone's forehead. But I can't deny that you do see something physical on the high priest's forehead, and that is a charagma. That is a mark. We're to have, doing his words is to be a sign on our hands and on our foreheads. And that's obviously the metaphorical usage of it. And the word for sign that is used there is auth. Okay, look at one of the meanings of auth. Mark. Okay, an auth is a sign. It is a mark. So we are to have Yehovah's mark on our hands and on our foreheads. Doing his words is how we have his auth on our hands and on our foreheads. Doing his commands is how people will see that the name of Yehovah is called upon us. Okay, so The people in Revelation take a mark on their hands, or an oath on their hands. If you're writing it in Hebrew, you could use this word oath to describe the exact same thing. And they will have his name on them too. So doing the Father's commands is to have his mark on your hand and forehead and his name called upon you. And the opposite is true for the beast. You will be worshipping the image of the beast. He's going to come and he's going to deceive everybody on the earth so that they make an image to this spiritual entity. They worship this spiritual entity. He's going to lead them all astray by signs and wonders. And then he's going to give them a mark and cause them all to worship this beast, this first beast. In these times, people are going to have the word of Elohim. I'm going to show you that because people will say, well, maybe they won't have the word of Elohim. So when all these things happen, maybe nobody's going to have the word to know that these things are written of in the scriptures. But just like in Exodus, when you have the people being given a chance, the people of Egypt, to do the word of Yahovah, when it comes to the hail raining down, you're going to have the same thing in the end times. You're going to have all of this which is directly prophesied in Revelation. And you're going to have people being given the choice. Are you going to not worship the image of the beast and therefore give up your life? Remember, the image of the beast causes those who will not worship it to be killed. Or are you going to stand on the word of Elohim? So people will be given a choice, and they're going to have to make the decision, will they worship the beast? Contrary to what the scriptures say. Are they going to take that mark on their hand and on their forehead in the name of the beast and be involved in worshipping the image? Or are they going to be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Hopefully, we will be among the 144,000 and we will be protected from those things. But perhaps it will be required of us also. But certainly the people who are around then will have the choice of whether or not they're going to be killed for the testimony of Yeshua and because of the word of Elohim. Proverbs 3 verse 3 says, let not kindness and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Engrave them on the tablet of your heart. Okay, the charagma is an engraving, remember. So this, you could say, is to take the charagma of Yahovah on your heart. Okay, you obviously don't physically engrave it on your heart. That wouldn't be very healthy. You don't physically bind them around your neck. But this is Yahovah's name, kindness and truth. Bind them around your neck and engrave them on your heart. Take his mark. Have his name called upon you. If you're in a situation where you're being asked to kneel down and worship before the icon of the beast, do not do that. Do not take the mark of the beast. Do not take the beast's name. Psalm 26, 9-10 says, do not gather my soul together with sinners, nor my life with bloodthirsty men, in whose hands is a plot, and their right hand is filled with bribes. Okay, so what is in your right hand? Your hands speak of your works. We see that throughout the scriptures. Your right hand, what is at your right hand is what is important to you. Your right hand is a place of honor. Okay, so for these people, their works, what they do is to take bribes. Bribes are in their right hand. Okay, we know to do Yahovah's commands is to have that as a sign upon our hands, our works. Matthew 5 verse 30, Yeshua says, if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away from you, for it is better for you that one of your members perish than for your entire body to be thrown into Gehenna. And that's going to be true when people are given the opportunity, whether they will worship the image of the beast, whether they'll take his mark on their right hand, or whether they will give their lives. Because remember, the icon of the beast speaks and causes as many as will not worship the image of the beast to be killed. When it comes to taking that mark, when it comes to worshipping the icon and worshipping the beast, it's better for you that you were to cut off your right hand and throw it far from you. Psalm 16, 8-9 says, I have set Yehovah always before me. Because he is at my right hand, I am not shaken. Therefore my heart was glad, and my esteem rejoices. My flesh also dwells in safety. We don't need to worry that we're going to accidentally take the mark of the beast. Yehovah is not trying to fool his people, and he doesn't punish people who are fooled into doing something. We know that Yehovah's name is to punish those who do iniquity, those who choose to walk away from him. That's his name. We can trust in who he is. We can trust that if Yehovah is at our right hand, we are going to be safe. We'll be safe from the mark of the beast if we make Yehovah our right hand, because we're not going to be doing any of those things, even on pain of death. Colossians 3 verse 17 says, whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Master Yeshua, giving thanks to Elohim the Father through him. Have his name written on your forehead. Have that as your right hand and as frontlets between your eyes. Revelation 14, 9-12 says, and a third messenger followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast or his icon, and receives his mark upon his forehead or upon his right hand, upon his hand rather, he also shall drink the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out undiluted into the cup of his wrath. And he shall be tormented with fire and sulfur before the set apart messengers and before the Lamb. The smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, those worshipping the beast and his image. Also, if anyone receives the mark of his name. Here is the endurance of the set apart ones. Here are those guarding the commands of Elohim and the belief of Yeshua. That's the endurance of the set apart ones. Those who will not worship the beast. They will not take his name on their hands. They will not take the mark of his name. They have the Father's name on their foreheads. They guard his commands, and thereby the world sees that the Father's name is called upon them. That's the endurance of the set apart ones in this last time. And to do this, you're going to have to not love your life even unto death. If it is required of you, you do not take his mark. You have the mark of the Father. You have his name called upon you, and thereby you are safe and you can trust in his name. Ezekiel 36:22 says, therefore say to the house of Israel, thus said the Master Yehovah, I do not do this for your sake, O house of Israel, but for my set apart name's sake, which you have halaled among the Gentiles wherever you went. Think about the damage that it does to the name of Yehovah to tell people things like the barcode is the mark of the beast. Given what we have just read happens to those who accept the mark, they're cast into the lake of fire. Think about what it does. If you tell somebody who is perhaps not a believer, this or that around the world is the mark of the beast, and they go, oh, that sounds bad. Mark of the beast, I'm sure I've heard of that somewhere. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to see what it is. And they learn all of this about the mark of the beast. One of the first things that drew me to the scriptures or reading the scriptures ever in my life was listening to a hip-hop song which talked about the beast in Revelation, the mark of the beast and all of those things. That was one of the first things that caused me to ever read the scriptures. And that song profaned his name and his character, suggesting that certain things were the mark of the beast which weren't. And we must be incredibly careful what we tell other people is the mark of the beast, because it carries such severe consequences to take the mark of the beast, that if we just throw that around unthinkingly, or when we're not absolutely certain, when the prophecies aren't being fulfilled and we just see something which might be used to buy or sell, we have to be very careful. because that profanes his name. People have that as their introduction to the scriptures, and then they go off and they say, oh, so it's the barcode. And if I bought something with the barcode, I'm going to be cast into the lake of fire. That doesn't sound very good. That doesn't sound like a God that I want to worship. It sounds like nonsense, in fact. I don't believe in this Elohim. That's who you've shown Elohim to be to people. So be very careful with the words that you say. People are getting in touch, I believe, at the moment about the mark of the beast because they believe that the COVID-19 vaccine might well be the mark of the beast. People are saying things like, well, it might be that if you don't get the vaccine, you can't buy or sell. And for many reasons, that is not going to be the case. Okay. The idea of this mandatory vaccine, all these other scaremongery things that people have seen on YouTube videos, it's not going to be the case. But even if it was the case, this is not capable of being the mark of the beast for all of the reasons that we've looked at. It's going to need to be something that you exercise your will to take, okay, to go against the words of Elohim. Yeshua told us there is no matter that enters a man from outside which is able to defile him, but it is what comes out of him that defiles the man. If anyone has ears to hear, let him hear. Really doesn't matter if you have something injected into your body, unless that's contrary to the Torah, then that would be an issue of sin. It wouldn't be the mark of the beast. But no one is able to defile you in such a way as you will be cast into the lake of fire. Certainly not an injection that people will be getting for health reasons, to be healthy. Okay, Yehovah is not like that. We've got to stop profaning his name by suggesting things like that might be true. That all these people are going to unknowingly go along to get a vaccine and then have all taken the mark of the beast. That's a terrible, terrible thing to tell other people. It's not something that we should suggest is true of Yehovah. And for the reasons that I looked at before, this in no way even comes close to fitting in with the prophecy of the mark of the beast and what people are going to be doing, what has led them astray, what has deceived them, and all of those things at that time. In Revelation 20, verse 4, it says, and I saw thrones, and they sat on them, and judgment was given to them, and the souls of those who had been beheaded because of the witness they bore to Yeshua and because of the word of Elohim. So they're going to have the word of Elohim at this time, who did not worship the beast, nor his icon, and did not receive the mark upon their foreheads or upon their hands. Why? Because of his word. When these things start happening in the future, we're going to have his word, and we're going to recognize them. We can tell other people, but they're going to choose to take the mark of the beast. They're going to choose, when it comes to having their lives taken from them, to be beheaded or to worship the mark of the beast. They're going to choose, sorry, I'm not going to give my life up for the word of Elohim. I'm going to take this mark. I'm going to worship this icon. Okay, this is the word lambano. And this is the word which is translated often as receive. Those who received the mark of the beast. And if we understand that in English, then we can just think of it as, so you might receive something that somebody does to you. If someone ran up and punched you in the face, you could be said in English to have received the punch in the face. But this word lambano carries with it the connotation of having taken something. It's been an exercise of your will to take something. It's not something that somebody can do to you. It's something that you're exercising your will to do. So again, as Yeshua said, there's nothing coming from outside that can defile a man. It's what comes from inside the man. It's his will to do those actions which are wrong. That's what defiles him. Okay, nobody can defile you in such a way as you are irredeemable before Yehovah and will be cast into the lake of fire. It's going to be those people who are given the choice, worship the image of the beast, take his mark thereby, have his name on your forehead and on your hands, or give your life. You've got those people who have the Father's name on their foreheads, those people who are beheaded for the testimony of Yeshua and because of his word, and those people who take the mark, those people who worship the icon. Revelation 15, 2-4 says, "And I saw like a sea of glass mixed with fire, and those overcoming the beast and his image and his mark and the number of his name, standing on the sea of glass, holding harps of Elohim. And they sing the song of Moshe, the servant of Elohim, the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are your works, Yahovah El Shaddai. Righteous and true are your ways, O King of the set-apart ones. Who shall not fear you, O Yahovah, and esteem your name? Because you alone are kind," that's his name, "because all nations shall come and worship before you, not before the beast." These are the people who have overcome the image of the beast, the mark and the number of his name. These are the ones who esteem Yahovah's name. All nations shall come and worship before him. These are the ones who have overcome. These are the ones who have lost their lives for the testimony of Yeshua and because of the word of Elohim. Revelation 16:2 says, "And the first went and poured out his bowl upon the earth, and an evil and wicked sore came upon men, those having the mark of the beast and those worshipping his image." So when the bowls are poured out, these are the people that are affected, those who took the mark of the beast and those who worship his image. Those who are told, do it or die. You know what the word of Elohim says? You can either worship this image, or you can go with it, worship the beast, take his mark, have his name upon your forehead. And these are people who take the mark of the beast, as opposed to those who have the Father's name on their forehead, who overcome those things. Proverbs 18 verse 10 says, "The name of Yahovah is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe." If you have the name of the Father on your forehead, you are safe. His name is a refuge. You're not going to take the mark of the beast. You're not going to be irredeemable before you. You're not going to be fooled into it. It's going to be an exercise of your will, a choice, a hard choice. Give your life or worship the image. But if you trust in his name, it is a refuge to you. Psalm 91 verse 14, "Because he cleaves to me in love, therefore I deliver him. I set him on high because he has known my name." These things will be terrifying. I have no doubt that these events on the earth will be terrifying. But if you trust in Yahovah, you cleave to him, you have his name written on your forehead, you have his words as a sign on your hand and as frontlets between your eyes, you will be safe. He will keep you safe. Yeshua said, "Fear not, little flock, because your Father did delight to give you the kingdom." He's not trying to trick anybody and to try to take the kingdom away from them. Those who love him and cleave to him in love, he delights to give them the kingdom. He's not excluding them because they've received the mark of the beast. He protects those people because they love him and they cleave to him. They've got his name written on their foreheads. He delights to give them the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give in kindness. Make yourselves purses which do not grow old, a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief does come near nor moth destroys. That is to walk in his name, to have his name on your hand and on your forehead. For where your treasure is, there your heart shall be also. You'll have his commandments engraved on your heart. You'll have his name. You'll have his mark on your heart, on your hand, on your forehead. Let your loins be girded and your lamps burning. Be like men waiting for their master. Therein you will be safe from this mark of the beast, nonsense which will not come upon anybody that did not choose it. Exodus 34, 6-7 says, And Yehovah passed before him and proclaimed, Yehovah, Yehovah, and they are compassionate, showing favor, patient, great in kindness and truth, watching over kindness for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin. And that's who he is. And to those people who seek him, that's what he is going to show to them. But by no means leaving unpunished, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and the children's children to the third and fourth generation. He will punish iniquity, and that is his name. Those who don't want his name, the forgiveness, and choose the name of the beast, they will experience his name in the punishment that comes from it. Psalm 116, 4-7 says, Then I called upon the name of Yehovah. O Yehovah, I pray to you, deliver my soul. Yehovah shows favor and is righteous, and our Elohim is compassionate. He's not waiting for you to stumble into taking the mark of the beast. I write to you, little children, because your sins have been forgiven on account of his name. He does delight to give you the kingdom. If you will do right, you will walk in his ways. Acts 2:21, and it shall be that everyone who calls on the name of Yehovah shall be saved. Beloved ones, if our heart does not condemn us, we have boldness towards Elohim. Whatever we ask, we receive from him because we guard his commands and do what is pleasing in his sight, and thereby his name is called upon us and all people will see. And this is his command, that we should believe in the name of his Son, Yeshua Messiah, and love one another as he gave us command. The one guarding his command stays in him, and he in him. And by this we know that he stays in us by the Spirit which he gave us. You walk in those things, have his name called upon you, and you will be safe. 1 John 5:13, I have written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of Elohim, so that you know that you possess everlasting life, and so that you believe in the name of the Son of Elohim, that name which is a strong tower and is a refuge. Psalm 9 verse 10, those who know your name trust in you. You have not forsaken those who seek you, O Yehovah. That's not who he is. He delights to give the kingdom to those who seek him and those who walk in his name. John 3:18-20. He who believes in him is not judged, but he who does not believe is judged already, because he has not believed in the name of the only brought forth Son of Elohim. And this is the judgment, that light has come into the world, and men loved the darkness rather than the light, for their works were wicked. For everyone who is practicing evil matters hates the light, and does not come to the light, lest his works should be exposed. It's going to be the same in the time of the end. Light has come into the world, word of Elohim. Men choose darkness rather than light because their works were wicked. We're told in John 15:19-21, Yeshua says, if you were of the world would love its own. But because you're not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, for that reason the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they shall persecute you too. If they've guarded my word, they would guard yours too. But all this they shall do to you because of my name, because they do not know him who sent me. It's going to be the same when we're given the choice. Fall down and do obeisance before the icon, or lose your life. The people who are doing it will gladly persecute us. If they guarded his word, they would guard ours too. But all this they shall do to us because of Yehovah's name. They don't take Yehovah's name, but we have his name on our foreheads, because they do not know him who sent me. And they will choose to take the mark of the beast, to have his name upon their foreheads, to fall down and worship his image. 1 John 3:18-19 says, my little children, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth. And by this we know that we are of the truth, and shall set our hearts at rest before him. Don't be fearful of these things, as Yeshua said. Fear not, little flock, because your Father did delight to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give in kindness. Make yourselves purses which do not grow old, a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief does come near, nor moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart shall be also. Let your loins be girded and your lamps burning, and be like men waiting for their master.